Well, the latest fallout over the push for voter ID laws. There is strong support in states across this country for them, but there is also fervent opposition. Two of the biggest names in corporate America found that out the hard way. Democrats hammering Coca-Cola and Walmart for their ties to a group called the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC for short. It's one of the leading organizations that is pushing for these voter ID laws, among other measures. They are now facing these companies, Coca-Cola and Walmart, facing the threat of boycotts, and Coca-Cola, confronted with those threats, decided to cut ties with the group. So far, Walmart standing firm. Caitlin Buss is the communications director for ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. This is the organization's first national broadcast interview since the story broke. Caitlin, thank you very much for being here. So Coke has bailed. Coke has bailed in response to the pressure from these groups. Walmart, not so much, not yet anyway. What do you make of the threats that these groups are facing, the threat of boycott?
Well, you know, I think the entire debate needs to be reframed, and really what ALEC is a bipartisan association of state legislators. We have, you know, legislators of all political stripes coming together to talk about the most critical issues facing the states, including things like voter ID. And so, you know, we really have all different kinds of people coming together and trying to come up with the best solutions to face some of the problems.
All right, so your point is it's not a partisan organization, but
Correct.
to get the things that you want enacted, you have to have money and you have to get the word out, and you get that from donors like Coca-Cola, like Walmart. But now no longer Coca-Cola, because some groups on the left have organized to put pressure on that group to not fund you, in particular because they don't like your push for voter ID laws. And my question to you is, what do you think of that?
Well, you know, our members from the private sector don't necessarily agree with all the policies that ALEC has, and they're interested in policies just like everyone across the nation that, you know, are decreasing tax burdens, increasing jobs, increasing economic growth. So, you know, they're not necessarily going to agree with every single policy that ALEC promotes, but overall our membership has actually increased over the past few years.
That's what Walmart came out and said. They said, look, you know, we don't necessarily agree with every single position, you know, the entities that we give money to support, but we're not going to bail on this particular group. But the group that is going after you and your supporters has come out and said that, quote, many leading corporations have left your organization, and I quote, as it moves to the extreme right. Your response?
Okay. Well, that's factually inaccurate, and that would be my response to that. And, you know, the legislators that are a part of ALEC are united over common principles of free enterprise, limited government, and federalism. And I think those are principles that most of America agrees with. And so, you know, to classify it as extreme right is just inaccurate. Voter ID in particular was just passed in Rhode Island in a democratically controlled legislature, and it's supported by a majority of Americans and a majority of Democrats.
I know. I mean, they came out and said that by funding ALEC, Coca-Cola and others are supporting an effort to disenfranchise African Americans, Latinos, students, the elderly, the disabled, and the poor. That's how they stand. And I want to ask you, a couple weeks ago, a guy named Mark Stevens, who was pressured to boycott Rush Limbaugh as an advertiser but refused, came on the program and said this about the pressure he was facing from some groups on the left. Stand by.
They've called my people in my company, they've called the women in my company, and told them they're women haters, they're the most horrible terms. They've told me, these are tens of thousands of emails, by the way, most of them are positive, but the small group, they've told us that we're under surveillance. The email subject lines say citizen of the internet, police of the internet, Mark, you're in danger, your house is going to be shut up by buses, your business is going to be destroyed, your people are in trouble. This is terrorism. Why don't we start calling it what it is? You don't have to commit an act of bloodshed for there to be terrorism. You have to invoke a sense of fear.
And to your knowledge, have any of the contributors, Coca-Cola or others, to your organization experienced any of those tactics?
You know, I think in general, this is not about, you know, this is trying to be about politics, but in essence, it's not. It's a difference of philosophy, and ALEC's philosophy differs with many people, you know, throughout America, and we respect that. But at the end of the day, it's not going to detract us from our mission of free market enterprise and limited government.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with Walmart and the other folks who contribute to your group. So far, Coca-Cola, they're out of there. Caitlin, thank you.
Thank you, Megan.